Hello dear friends, now you can see a wooden synagogue in the town which is called Rosalimas. This town is a small Lithuanian town in central Lithuania, and the Jewish community was mentioned here from the beginning of the 19th century. It was a small community, about 100 houses, and they had a synagogue and a school, and the synagogue survived the war and the Soviet period. It was used as a warehouse. It is still used as a warehouse, and it is one of the oldest wooden synagogues in Lithuania. Unfortunately today it's abandoned, or maybe some warehouse which doesn't have any strategic importance, and as far as we know there are no serious plans for the reconstruction of this Jewish heritage site. The entrance to the synagogue was from that side. This is the west. This is the east, more or less. And these are the two windows of the women's section. The entrance to the women's section, there were steps to the second floor from the outside. The steps don't exist today. And it's so the walls are authentic, original. You see some deteriorating wood here. But this is the real view of the synagogue. This is how it was built, without any coverage lining from outside. This is one of the entrances. Most probably was added later because it's like in the middle of the house, of the structure. So some synagogues look like this, and some synagogues are renovated and refurbished, as we will go to our next stop today, to Pakruojis, and we will see totally different situation of the synagogue. Hello dear friends, today we are on the roads again, and Renovated Travel YouTube channel is visiting the town of Pakruojis. We are in the northern part of Lithuania, not far from the city of Šiauliai, and we are going to find out what is interesting in Pakruojis today. Just in the central part of Pakruojis, you can see an interesting memorial, the old train, and it says the narrow gauge train in Pakruojis 1915-1994. I'm not sure why 1994, maybe it was operating till 1994, but definitely by the end of the 19th century, early 20th century, it was a big progress when the carrying of goods using the trains became available even in such distant places as northern Lithuania. In 1936, Lithuanian authorities bought 10 trains with a wider gauge, and it was a development and a big change, but still the narrow ones were operating for quite a long period of time. We are on the main street of Pakruojis, and here you can see Catholic Church. As you most probably know, Lithuania is a strictly Catholic country, and in every town and every village and every city there are plenty of churches. This is a Roman Catholic church built in a neoclassical style in 1887. It's very interesting that at that time, in 1887, there were numerous synagogues in Pakruojis. There was a very big Jewish community. There were about 70% of the population, and in numbers there were 1,000 people in accordance out of the 1,350 of the total population. So it's an interesting paradox. I like historical paradoxes, that for such a small Catholic population of the town, local authorities or local clergy used to build such a big impressive churches. So this was their attempt to make their religion as a dominant religion in this country. So we are at the synagogue, one of the three synagogues of Pakruojis, the wooden synagogue which was built in 1801, 220 years ago. It's hard to believe that this building survived all these years, all these changes, wars, fires. The last fire was in the recent decade, and now we are lucky to have this beautifully renovated building of a synagogue, including the paintings on the ceilings and a wallpaper which was reconstructed according to the pieces of the original wallpaper which was found and can still be seen in the corners of the synagogue. So today it's a library and exhibition hall and a concert hall, and it serves the cultural purposes of Pakruojis town. And today the exhibition here is called the Šiauliai Jews portraits. So half of the portraits are of current Jews who live in Šiauliai, and another half of the pre-war period, the Jews who lived in Šiauliai before the Second World War, before the Holocaust, before the immigration. So the black and white pictures are from the pre-war And the last picture is the photo of the lady who made these pictures. We are on the second floor of the synagogue in women's section, and here is a historical exhibition about different Jewish communities, including the community of Pakruojis. And here, below a short description in Lithuanian and English, there is a map of Pakruojis, and on that map, number 143, this is the possession 143, and it belonged to Katz Arye, to your family. And here on the picture below, you can see the picture of the central street of Pakruojis. This is another stand of the exhibition with some pictures from the Great Synagogue of Pakruojis, which was standing just next to the current existing synagogue. We can see the spot through the window, and there were archaeological excavations done not so long ago, and they found out that the building of the Great Synagogue was also a wooden building, despite the fact that in many articles we can read that it was a brick building. Some artifacts, Judaic artifacts, to show actually to local people and to explain about Judaism and Jewish traditions. This wallpaper is a reconstruction of the original one, and here you can see some pictures of the synagogue after the fire, before the reconstruction, and some stages of the reconstruction and the inside view of the synagogue. And the next stand is about the community of Linkuva, big synagogue in Linkuva. Some pictures of Jews from Pakruojis. and few more communities, including the Rosalim community, the town. We stopped on the way here and made pictures and videos of the wooden synagogue, another wooden synagogue in the area. So, also not to forget to mention Avram Yitzhak Kook, who was a very famous rabbi, who was a rabbi of Jemel Jewish community, and he is known as a founder of the Rabbanut of Israel. And now we can see the view of the main hall of the synagogue. So the bima is missing, but I will show you some pictures of it. And the Aron HaKodesh itself is also missing. We can see only the picture of it on the wall. From this picture with some interior decoration elements and paintings on the ceiling, the artists could reconstruct the interior decoration, and one of the most important artifacts are the paintings on the ceilings. They are quite simple, as the artists were Jews and most of them were not professional artists, and they painted very simply. For example, here you can see a nest of a stork, which is a very common bird residing in Lithuania. And you can see a train. It connects with the episode of with the narrow gauge train I showed you. So it's very simple. And of course the painting of Arye, the lion, and the serpent who catches his tail as a symbol of eternity. Usually such a decoration was above the bima, and here they made it in the central part of the ceiling, and it's exactly above the place of the bima, which is missing. So from the synagogue we continue our tour. It was really nice to meet the lady from the synagogue. Gitana is her name, and we had a very interesting conversation. The great synagogue was here, so the archaeological excavation took place last year, and they found out the basement of the synagogue, and the third temple was a little bit closer to the river. So from the synagogue we continue to Katz's house, which is exactly 2 minutes, or not 2 minutes, 1 minute walk from the synagogue on the main street by the name of Grand Duke. So we are again on the main street, approaching Katz family house. Very nice brick building, very big actually. According to the documents, 760 square meters. I've made a small research in the local registration office. It's abandoned. By the way, you already asked me about some history of the house, if it was a wooden and rebuilt into brick house. No, there are no evidences that it once would be a wooden house. It's a brick house. Now, one thing I can tell you, that most probably here were 2 entrances, so part of the house could be a shop. I don't know if you know exactly what was the occupation of your family here, but later on it was rebuilt into a window and not a door. So this entrance, and we will also see how does it look on the other side. So this is the back side, and this is the courtyard of the house. So another entrance, and here we can see windows, not like it is from the main street that the windows are blocked with boards. I've glanced inside, absolute deterioration. So this is the fate of the house, which has no owner for many years. recently renovated, not open for public yet, but we could manage to go into the territory of the old fire station, the old building with a small tower which used to help the local firefighters to locate the fires. And by the way, the last fire, which took place in a synagogue, was taken care of by the local firefighters very quickly and efficiently, and that's why the building could be renovated later on. And today will be an exhibition. I don't know exactly what kind of exhibition, but it will be another touristic attraction of Pakruojis town. Statues of Russian soldier with a flag and a machine gun was the same to be put on hundreds if not thousands of mass graves of Red Army soldiers who were killed during the battles of the liberations of territories conquered by Nazis. In the case of Pakruojis, they were buried on the location of the old Jewish cemetery, the first Jewish cemetery. There were two Jewish cemeteries in Pakruojis, so the old one was here, and here is a plug with the inscription in Hebrew, in Yiddish, and in Lithuanian, mentioning the old Jewish cemetery of Pakruojis. So we are on the Jewish cemetery of Pakruojis. Very few headstones are still legible here. The smaller ones are older ones. The newer ones are this shape. This, for example, says Marat eta bat Reb Shmuel, and she died, I can't read the date exactly, Tafreish Ein Gimel, which is 1903. And few more headstones are legible. Let's see, this one, I think this was named Shraga, Pesa Batrep Shraga, and Yuda, no, sorry, and I can't read the name, the second name, and few more here. This one is also a woman, Bat Yeshayahu, Fege Bat Yeshayahu, and here I can see a grave of a man. I can't read the name, it's something Nisan, Bar Nisan, Reb Elia. I don't know, it's hard to say. And the last one, which I'll try to read, actually there are no more to read. This one says oh, this is hard to read. You need to use some pen here to read it. We are finishing our tour in Pakruojis, a sad place, terrible place, the massacre site of about 400 Jews from Pakruojis. 400, these were not all the Jews of Pakruojis. Some of them succeeded to run away from here towards the Russian border. Some of them were stuck in Biržai town in northern Lithuania. And the rest were killed here in two pits, in one trench and one pit. 400 men, women and children were killed on August 10th, 1941, which means 7 weeks after the beginning of the Nazi occupation. So our second place of interest for today is a village of Vashkai. Let's see what's interesting is in there. It's the first time for me as well. Vashkai is situated in the northern part of Lithuania, not far from the Latvian border. It was first time mentioned in 1656. The first Jews were mentioned in Vashkai in the 17th century, which is relatively early. Then the community was established and it existed up until the First World War. Then they were expelled and then some of them came back. The numbers by the end of the 19th century were 440 Jews out of the total population of 883 people, which is exactly 50%. Among the rabbis who served in Vashkai were Rabbi Yehuda Leib Harif, Rabbi Avraham Hoffenberg, who served in the rabbinate for 48 years and passed away in 1929. The names of Jews from Vashkai appear on the 1914 list of donors for settling in Eretz Israel. The delegates were Shraga Yatskan and Moshe Dorfman, who appears to be somehow related to your family. At the beginning of World War I, the entire Jewish population of Vashkai was expelled to the interior regions of Russia. Some of them came back and resettled in Vashkai after the war, but the population didn't extend 260 people. According to the 1931 census, Jews owned 4 grocery stores, 3 fabric stores and 2 flour mills in Vashkai. In 1937, the town had 11 Jewish artisans, 4 tailors, 3 butchers, 2 glaziers, and a baker and a painter. This small settlement also had a branch of the Jewish Popular Bank, Volksbank. In 1927, it had 72 members. Many Jews emigrated from Lithuania and from Vashkai as well to South Africa in the 1930s, as the economic situation was very hard. Petras Anilonis was a teacher and historian of Vashkai, and he could tell that Dorfan family lived in a greenhouse on Vilnius Street corner of Pasvalio Street, the greenhouse you see now. Petras also mentioned Katz Abel as a neighbor who lived on the same street, and also Schenkman, who was a shoemaker living not far from here. It was amazing to learn from Petras about a wooden synagogue, which he could describe in details from his childhood memories. The cemetery in Vashkai. Very few headstones remained, and also very hard to read the names of people buried here. So a lot of empty ground and some stones on that side, and the town of Vashkai is on the other side of the main road. And we know from the article that this is one of the massacre sites as well. 27 Jews were killed here, but no memorial stone was erected. There were a few more massacre sites around Vashkai, and also some of the Vashkai Jews were murdered in the town of Pasvalis. So unfortunately not too much to show you this location.